ready.
All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1.
Stop the race! Stop the race! There's a hole in the slides. Look what I found. Look at this.
Tommy, what are you doing? Get back to your team.
But I don't want a team. Look, don't go down. The slides are gonna collapse.
We are talking about the movie AQUASLASH. This one is written and directed by Renaud Gauthier. And this is probably, you can guess by the title, is a kind of a slasher movie based in a water park. Oh yes. So what's the story here? Well, we have a group of graduating from high school, I'm assuming American teenagers, going to this kind of water park to celebrate their, their graduation and what have you. And while they're there, it's all the kind of typical stuff that you'll see in these films. Lots of drugs, lots of sex, all that sort of stuff. And of course, lots of slashing, lots of killing. And there seems to be some type of serial killer loose on this particular water park. Now, there was a historical event 35 years or so before where people lost their lives, which may not have been some type of killer on the loose then. And it's now the anniversary of that date. So could history be repeating itself, or could it be something new? So let's talk about AQUASLASH. Now, without giving a spoiler really, I would have to say this movie is literally all about one sequence. Now, the movie has one very, very well done and very explicit kill sequence. Now, there are other deaths that happen in the movie, but it all leads up to this one particular moment, and it involves kids going down the water slides and maybe something being in the water slide which is going to slash them, is the best way I would describe it. And we see it kind of being set up by this kind of killer sometime before, and you're just waiting for the inevitable moment where people start going down this slide, and it does not disappoint. So what works in this movie? So first of all, that sequence is horrifying. It really is. And it's probably unlike any other kind of like kill that you've seen in a slasher movie, and it is done to a very good standard, being very gory but almost comedic to a certain degree, where people are kind of coming out the other end of it, shall we say, in pieces. It is very, very well done, and obviously because the word doesn't get out until a little while later, people are still kind of going down this slide and coming out the other end somewhat different, shall we say. So that sequence by itself, I feel, is the biggest reason to watch this movie. Outside of that, the movie has a kind of a weird 80s feel to it. Now it's everyone's kind of got like 80s style kind of haircuts. So it is set in contemporary times because we see people using smartphones and things, but nonetheless the movie tries to have somewhat of an 80s, I guess, throwback feel to it, where people are listening to Walkmans and things like this, and people have like the big 80s hair. There's a band that are playing kind of like 80s songs, things like this. And there has got a fairly large cast. The movie doesn't really have a central protagonist so much. It has more of an ensemble cast of people, which makes it kind of good in a way, because you don't really know who's going to die and who's going to live, because it never really focuses too much time on one particular person. There's a guy that kind of looks a little bit like Andrew Garfield, I think, that he is, I guess, the main protagonist, but again, he gets probably, he's not the central focus all the time. Everyone actually gets, a reasonable amount of kind of screen time spread out. I actually got to say, I actually thought, for me, the best character was this bully guy, who who I think is the most layered character here, because he comes across as a bit of, he works at the kind of this water park, and he comes across as the typical kind of jerk who's sort of pushing around the younger kids and stuff like that. But ultimately, he gets the dirty done on him, and but he does try to has a bit of a redemptive arc. So he actually, out of all the characters, I would say, has the best arc and the most redemptive arc, and he also acts probably more responsibly than anyone else in the movie. obviously, it has a very unique feel to it, being set in kind of a bright, sunny water park for, you know, for obviously a change rather than kind of your dank, dark camp in the woods, things like that. So it definitely has somewhat of a unique sort of day-glow neon flavour, so to speak. And like I said, the 80s aesthetic really does kind of help with that as well. Gotta say, I thought the acting for the most part was all pretty good from everyone in the cast. I don't think there was any real clunky acting here. And there were a few other kills as well with various different things, but the main focus here is this one sequence kind of like towards the end of the movie, the climax really, and it's all about that. What doesn't work? Okay, the major issue I have with this movie is about the characters, however, and that is nearly all of the characters are unlikable, even what are put forward as our protagonists. I mentioned the guy who looks a little bit like Andrew Garfield. He's actually kind of cheating with someone who's, you know, this girl who is going out with someone else. And this is the guy I'm talking about, this bully guy, so to speak. Now, so he's not like this kind of altruistic guy. So you do feel like he's still, well, you know, you're going around with someone else's girlfriend buddy, so we don't feel too kind of heroic, for example. And also he's like the poor little rich boy, things like this. But I've got to say, pretty much everyone here is unlikable. Everyone seems to be cheating on their partners. There's no one really that is kind of seems to be a particularly likeable character. And therefore, as an audience, you struggle to root for the characters, with the exception of the one guy, and even he is still a bit of a dick. But there's no real kind of characters here that you feel are particularly likeable. Now, on the one hand, you could argue that maybe that's something a little bit different. Maybe we don't always want to have the cookie cutter good guy, so to speak. But I still feel you don't need the typical kind of Virginia final girl to have a character that you can root behind, and that without making them too overtly like a good guy. But everyone here just seems like either really rude to people or just downright horrible to one another. So it just makes for the somewhat of unlikable characters. Now, they're not acted badly, but they're just unlikable written characters. Now, I've mentioned this movie all leads up to this one very, very good sequence. But really, that's all the movie's got going for it in regards to spectacle. Because the kills outside of that, I've got to say, are a little on the weaker side, aren't particularly kind of exciting, and not shot in a particularly fun or exciting way, and are actually a little bit humdrum. It almost comes across, with the exception of that one scene, of like a kind of a TV movie with really not a lot of kind of like violence or gore and things like that on display here. Yeah, although that sequence is good, it's only one sequence within the movie, and the rest of the movie, whilst it's certainly proficiently made on a technical level, isn't particularly interesting because we're not really rooting behind the characters, and it's just a lot of time spent with characters being arseholes to each other, quite frankly. So, should you watch this movie? I feel if you like slasher movies, you'd probably look past some of these issues. Because I feel you'll be so in awe of this one particular sequence that will kind of make you forget about maybe some of the other shortcomings. And it is a great sequence. I'm not going to take it away. You should watch this film just for that one sequence alone. I'm not going to put any clips of that one on because I don't want to spoil it. But you should. That's worth seeing on its own, to be honest with you. But I've got to say, outside of that, it's relatively an average movie. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I don't think I can really put it even above average, to be honest with you. I don't feel the movie really deserves too much plaudits for kind of making it. But at the end of the day, it's just one sequence of the movie that is kind of more outstanding than anything else. The rest of the film is very humdrum, but not bad. It still is an interesting movie and keeps your engagement to a certain degree. But I feel it needed to have a little bit more to it rather than really relying on this one really good standout scene. 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.